Hello, my friends. Simon Miller from WhatCulture here, live from Dallas, Texas, because, of course, it is WrestleMania 38 weekend. In fact, behind me, you may be able to see a building. No, you can't see it at all. That's where the Superstore is happening, and yes, it costs $10 to get in. So make sure you have your money to then go into a building to buy money. However, given that we are mere hours away from WrestleMania's Night 1 and Night 2, we thought it made sense to take the finger of power, which is over here today, and give the good bits and up and the bad bits are down for the build when it comes to the biggest show of the year. So, of course, this is going to be a more rough and ready version of ups and downs, and I have to say that, otherwise the comments gets mad. They're like, this wasn't as professional as usual. No, I'm stood in Dallas, Texas, with the sun beating onto my bald head. However, I do have the match line up here on my phone, so we're going to go use this. And apparently, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, the first match on Night 1 for WrestleMania will be Bianca Belair going after the Women's Championship against Becky Lynch. Now, even though the roles have kind of been a little bit crazy because nobody really wants to boo Becky Lynch, although we do all want to cheer Bianca Belair, if we go back to that thing that we did on Raw a few days ago when Becky Lynch got her hair cut and now has changed up her look because of it, I actually think all of this has been good. Now, of course, we can criticise the fact that Becky didn't need to be a heel, but this has been going on since August last year, 2021. And if Bianca Belair now uses WrestleMania to win back her championship, then we go to WrestleMania Backlash and she beats Becky Lynch again before they go off in separate directions, I actually think it's been pretty decent. And you know, the idea was to turn Bianca into a bigger star. And if you can believe it, I think we have achieved all of these things. So I know it hasn't been across the board well received. It's my show, it's my finger power, and I'm giving it up. And then we move on to match number 2, which is going to be the Mysterios versus the Miz and Logan Paul. Now, as I've said in a few videos, and I will say again, I ain't got no problem with Logan Paul being on the show. He has a following. My mum knows who he is. Again, doesn't understand who he is, but knows who he is. And it kind of works, right? The Miz and Logan Paul are a couple of assholes. Dominic and Ray are like father and son, and we love them because one gave birth to the other, kind of, you know what I'm talking about. And this sort of writes itself. Although I will say, does it feel like a match that we could do on Raw? And the answer is yes. I don't really understand what we've been doing between Logan Paul and The Miz. It doesn't really feel like they are friends, but they come out and Lucha Logan is all right. I saw some crazy stuff on Twitter. That said Lucha Logan has been booked better than the Lucha Brothers. I almost walked off the camera. That's the most ridiculous. We haven't had time to do anything with it. So I think it'll be a fun match. I've no problem with working in celebrities, but yeah, it hasn't really floated my boat. You could easily do it on one of the weekly shows and it would feel exactly the same. So in terms of the build, I got to give it a down. Which moves us on to Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin, who I presume will be joined by Madcap Moss. And I am actually a big fan of this. Loads of people are going, oh, it's not a proper WrestleMania match, which you could actually throw at a lot of the matches on the card as the wind tries to blow us away here in Dallas, Texas. But look what we've set up here. Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin are probably going to break up at WrestleMania. Corbin will probably lose because of Madcap Moss, which means after the fact we can do their feud, Drew McIntyre can win, and he could go on to feud with Roman Reigns. So I appreciate this. I do accept that all the stuff with the sword has been weird, to the point Drew needs to decapitate Happy Corbin for us to get a satisfying ending. But I've been all right with it. I think they have been given somewhat of a crazy narrative, and they have decided to do the very best that they could with it. And what can I do? I can only trust my instincts. I can only go into my tum-tum. I'm taking the finger of power, and I'm giving it up. And then we have another tag team match, because it will be the Usos versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs. And I'll keep this one nice and simple, because I don't want to keep repeating myself. No, it does not feel like a WrestleMania match. Again, will it be good on the night? Of course it will. These are 4 premier workers, but I'm not massively... I don't feel like we're about to get this huge blow-off tag team match, even though the match itself will be good. So let's just take a minute, point towards the down sign, we give it a down, and we move on. Following that, we may have the most anticipated thing that anybody is going to do on the show, because Seth freaking Rollins is going to face a mystery opponent. Now, there is this idea that we should be down on WWE because so many people have been watching Raw and Cody Rhodes hasn't turned up, but I think this was the best thing to do, because we all know it's going to be Cody Rhodes. We're all excited about it being Cody Rhodes, and if you are going to have 65,000 people plus in AT&T Stadium, why wouldn't you want to debut there? Let's just pretend you're Cody Rhodes. Maybe you are Cody Rhodes. Cody, how you doing? Hope you're well. This is the place you would want to make your arrival to WWE or back to WWE on the grandest stage of them all. So I've enjoyed all of it. I think Seth Rollins has been brilliant. Even that weird skit he did with Vince McMahon on paper should have been terrible, but Seth was able to pull it up. So I'm absolutely going to give it an up. And if it is Cody, which it will be, and he wins, I can look back on all of these last, 3 months, whatever it's been, and just be like, how the flub did this? How did it happen? If I had told you 6 months ago, or when we got to the end of last year, that Cody Rhodes was going to be at WrestleMania taking on Seth Rollins, you would have punched me in the face for being a lying, bald a-hole. So you can go nuts in the comments. That's what the comments are for, but it is absolutely getting it up. Which brings us to our final championship match from night one, which is Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. And unfortunately, I find myself in this record repeating position again. No, it hasn't been a good build. It hasn't made me any more excited about it. In fact, a lot of it has been really rather quite strange. And I don't want to go into the whole, it'll be a good match because I've already said it. But yeah, it's the down. It's the down. It's been weird ever since the Royal Rumble. Kind of feel like it's been an uphill battle because everybody wanted to see Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey. So I shrug my shoulders. I stare off into the distance of Dallas, Texas because it's hot and I'm enjoying the sun going onto my back. But give it a down. Which brings us to the main event, or the main event segment of night one, which is going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin, in some sense taking on Kevin Owens. And all you really need to know is this. A few weeks ago, Kevin Owens came out dressed as Stone Cold Steve Austin. He did a Stone Cold impression. He trolled the fans twice, and it was genuinely one of my favorite things I've seen on WWE TV so far. When Austin did his rebuttal video, that gave me chills. It gave me goosebumps. It makes me so pleased to see Kevin Owens, who obviously recently re-signed with WWE, making millions of dollars, taking on Stone Cold Steve Austin and main eventing WrestleMania to the point, everybody get ready, because it's going to annoy everyone. I'm not just giving it an up. I am giving it a golden up because it all stands to reason. Am I super pumped about this? Yes. Is that the whole point of WrestleMania? Yes. So give it a golden up. Now let's quickly talk about night two. And when we do get to night two, we have Queen Zelina and Carmella taking on Sasha Banks and Naomi, taking on Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, taking on Natalya and Shayna Baszler for the SmackDown and Raw WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. Now, I think some of the matches we've done, utilizing all the different people, have been quite fun. But really, this has been taken over by Zelina Vega turning to Carmella and going, Carmella, you don't care about the championships. And Carmella going, no, I just want to bang Corey Graves. And a few weeks ago, when we did Ups and Downs with Dynamite, I told you I never want wrestlers to talk about semen. And I also don't really need to hear two wrestlers talking about banging each other. So I'm giving the build down. Although it's the complete opposite for Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn. And I shouldn't have said that, because now it sounds like I want Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn to talk about banging each other. That's not what I meant at all. But seriously, I love all of this. I think Johnny Knoxville, as a celebrity appearance, has gone out of his way to prove that he does respect this. You can give Sami Zayn anything and he can make it work. I mean, they flew a flying plane thingamajig with Sami Zayn's phone number. And did he actually get those calls? I don't know. But I thought it made it really fun on social media. I think every time I've seen them on SmackDown, they clearly enjoy working together. It also ties all the way back into the Royal Rumble, and I think a bit beforehand. So WWE have stuck to task here. Both these guys have smashed it out of the park. It absolutely gets it up to the point, even if Johnny Knoxville wins, I ain't really going to care. And it's the same for Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory. It goes back to when Vince McMahon was on Pat McAfee's show. We've made it very clear this is Pat McAfee's dream. Austin Theory has come across like a brother who's a little bit jealous of the older sibling because he wants to hang out with dad, but dad is giving all these opportunities all over the place. And it's a match I wanted to see. And I think the cool thing about this is that when Austin Theory finally moved from NXT to Raw, if you had told me this is the plan at WrestleMania, I'd be like, that's cool for Pat McAfee because I really like him, but I don't know how I feel about that match. But now, if Pat McAfee actually gets the victory, I think I'm going to feel really good about life. That's what wrestling should do. So this one surprises me. I'm sure it will surprise you. Again, before I get into the predictions, make sure you check the prediction show. That will be up there, but I'm absolutely giving it an up. And we repeat that for RK Bro taking on the Street Profits, taking on the Alpha Academy, simply because of how all these three teams have been treated. Otis and Chad Gable right now are better than ever. I love this new attitude the Street Profits have because they have this edge and they kind of feel a bit like dicks, and I just think it serves them better. And RK Bro arguably are the best thing on SmackDown. If this kicks off WrestleMania 38 Part 2, I will be over the moon. I'm giving it up. And I kind of hope, even though WrestleMania Backlash is just going to be a bunch of rematches, that somehow we have another take on this match. That's how much I enjoy the tag teams. And so WWE, don't forget about your tag team division after WrestleMania, which you often do. You have gold here, and the only way to continue it on is to continue it on up. We then get to a somewhat controversial one. Because Edge versus AJ Styles. Now, as I found out, especially since I've come out here to WrestleMania, I've been talking to some people, a lot of people haven't really understood Edge's heel turn, and it has been weird. And all AJ Styles has really done is gone, oh man, I'm a bulldog, I'm going to whip your ass so bad. The thing is, I would have been excited for this match even if they had sat down and played chess, or even if they had recited Shakespeare at each other. But like, doesn't matter, man, it's Edge versus AJ Styles. But do I think they could have done a better job? I mean, kinda. But I don't think they've intentionally done a bad job. I just think Edge is still kind of finding his way with this new character. But I think when it comes to a build, if I'm already excited about Edge versus AJ Styles now, when we're like 24, 48 hours away from WrestleMania, I should be at a fever pitch and I should be ready to explode. And I don't feel that way, even though I do think this could be the best match over the weekend, so I am giving it a down. And I don't really know what to tell you about Bobby Lashley versus Omos. I mean, the build was, Omos beat a lot of guys. Bobby Lashley came out 6 days beforehand and said, well, I'll beat you. And Omos went, all right, yeah, that sounds good. And now we're going to do the match. But I like Bobby Lashley, I like Omos. I haven't felt offended. I suppose a good thing about doing a short build. No, I've just contradicted myself. Not contradicted, but he did walk through Apollo Crews and General Aziz, and he beat the Viking Raiders. You know what? I didn't think we need to do that. Look, I'm having another epiphany moment again, staring off into the sunset. That was bad. I'm giving it a down. Which brings us to the proper main event of both shows, which is Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Title versus title. And honestly, you would have to be the most cynical wrestling fans, and how you doing? I know you're out there. Make sure you leave a comment below if you haven't enjoyed this. I think WWE has been focused. I think babyface Brock Lesnar has been excellent. I think Roman Reigns has improved each and every single week, and also kind of added in, oh, I'm scared of Brock Lesnar and the whole personal stuff. He talked about WrestleMania 34. I honestly don't believe that WWE could have done this better. And I think when you go through every single match that these two have had, and I believe the official count now is about 72,941, this is it. And this is why they should never fight again after this. We have taken all of that history and we have made it mean so much in the present. I mean, I think we've got to give it a golden up, which breaks my rule. We're only supposed to give out a golden up once a week, but I don't care. Once again, I'm having a good time in WrestleMania. So Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, title versus title, even though we'll get another title on Raw basically in like 3 days. For the build, is getting a golden up. So there you go, my friends. Now make sure you go in the comments and let me know your ups and downs to WrestleMania 38. You're not going to agree, but that's going to be okay. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Make sure you keep an eye on WhatCulture.com. So we've got a bunch of WrestleMania news going up there. Make sure you come follow us on Twitter. Make sure you watch other videos on the channel. And of course, make sure you check out the What Culture Wrestling podcast. It's really, really good. My name is Simon from What Culture, reporting live from sunny Dallas, Texas. I hope to see you over WrestleMania weekend. Have a great time, because it comes but once a year. See you soon.